Hey guys, and thank you for watching. If you've been keeping up with products that are new in 2017, then you might have heard that L'Oreal has launched 3 different kinds of beauty sponges. One of these sponges is the Blend Artist Infallible Contour Blender, then there's the Blend Artist Infallible Concealer Blender, and finally the Blend Artist Infallible Foundation Blender. Now I went out and got my hands on the foundation blender. I picked mine up at CVS. I know I've seen them at Walgreens, I've seen them at Ulta, and when I looked up the price on Ulta today, all 3 of these are retailing for $7.99. Now, the reason why I only picked up the foundation sponge is because I am all about convenience. I don't necessarily think that I would want to use 3 different sponges. I mean, then if you're traveling, you have to store 3 different sponges. It's like you got to keep track of them. You're using them for different things. I'm kind of like an all-in-one type of girl. So I decided I just wanted to pick the one that I feel like I would use the most. And I felt like the foundation blender is the one that I would get the most use out of. Now, they are affordable if you're picking up 1, they're $7.99. However, if you go ahead and get all 3, you round the $7.99 up to 8. 8 times 3 is $24. So for all 3 of these beauty sponges, you would be paying more than the beauty blender, which is $20. I'm not going to compare all 3 of these sponges since I only have 1, but I will be comparing this foundation blender with my beauty blender that I get at Sephora. Now, before I go ahead and compare the 2, I do want to give you just a little bit of information about the L'Oreal sponge. It does say on Ulta's website that L'Oreal's Infallible Blend Artist Foundation Blender, designed with an exclusive plush material and easy to grip shape, creates a makeup application that will wow the pros. Rounded edges of the blending sponge guarantee effortless blending. Plush sponge material ensures makeup sits on the sponge, creating a smoother, more uniform blending experience and a professional makeup result. Benefits are effortless blending, designed to use with liquid and cream foundations, even an easy makeup application. Then on Ulta's website, it does tell you how to use. Step 1 says to apply a small amount of foundation onto the blender. Step 2 says to use dabbing and rolling motions to blend the product onto the skin for the smoothest, most uniform application. And then there's a makeup artist tip that says use the pointed tip to apply makeup onto your face and use the bottom to dab and roll product onto the skin. Use additional product to build up your desired level of coverage. Now, nowhere on Ulta's website or on the actual packaging of the sponge does it tell you that you should wet the sponge beforehand. So I've been trying this out for about 2 weeks now, and I have tried it both dry and wet. I do find that once I dampen it, I used it damp today, that it is very squishy. Now, even without dampening it, it is still squishy, but I felt like with a dry application, it was a little bit harder on my face. Whereas once I dampened it, it didn't feel like I was necessarily like hitting my face really hard. So I do prefer to use it damp, and that's just what I'm used to with beauty blenders anyway. However, this is a nice plush material. There have been others that I've seen when you touch them, they're like really hard. This is definitely a very comfortable sponge. You can easily squeeze it. It does have a unique shape. You can get a good grip if you want to use the point. And then you can also grab the pointed end if you want to dab. So it is nice to have this little indentation if you want to go ahead and grab onto the sponge. So overall, I mean, I did enjoy this. I did like this sponge. I think it's a great drugstore option. Again, I personally would not use 3 different sponges, so I did use this for all 3 of my beauty sponge needs. I used it to apply foundation, concealer, and powder. I did find that even though this tip is pointed, because the rest of the sponge is so thick, it is kind of hard to get right up into that tear duct area. It wasn't, you know, something that I would say, oh my gosh, don't get this sponge because you can't put your concealer on. L'Oreal did not invent this for concealer. I was kind of using it for that purpose. So I mean, you can kind of get up in there, but it was a little bit difficult. However, I did find that it was nice to get my foundation all over my skin and to blend it in easily. It felt nice and smooth. I feel like my foundation looks just as good as it does with the Beauty Blender, and I felt like this was definitely a very efficient tool. Now, when I compare the L'Oreal sponge to the Beauty Blender, first of all, you can see there is a size difference. The L'Oreal sponge is significantly larger. Now, it doesn't really expand too much when I did dampen it, but it did expand a little bit, whereas my Beauty Blender is dry right now, so if I had dampened it, it would have expanded a little bit. It's similar in the sense that it has the rounded bottom and the pointed top. However, with my Beauty Blender, I feel like it's easier for me to really get in there with the concealer. So I felt like this was more efficient in getting my concealer where I want it to go. Again, L'Oreal does not claim that this is a good concealer applicator. This is the foundation sponge. I also did find that this applied my powder just as well as the Beauty Blender. I do like using a damp Beauty Blender to apply my under eye powder just because I do have dry skin, so I feel like that gives me a little bit more hydration, and both of those sponges did that very well. I do feel like the L'Oreal sponge, when I would squeeze them out, you know, I run them under water to dampen them, squeeze them out, and then I use a paper towel to squeeze them out even more. I feel like the L'Oreal sponge maybe held more water because when I was squeezing it, a lot more water would come out than when I'm using a Beauty Blender. Also, when I take my Beauty Blender and squeeze it out in a paper towel, it just kind of dampens up one spot, whereas I had to use an entire paper towel to kind of squeeze out all the excess water. Now, I don't feel like either one of these sponges suck up too much makeup. I would say that's probably about even. They are a sponge, so they are soaking up a little bit of your foundation, but I felt like they both kind of did an equal amount with that. So this is very comparable to the Beauty Blender. I personally enjoy the Beauty Blender more. I feel like I'll get more use out of it because it's easier for me to navigate the three products that I use, foundation, concealer, and powder, with the Beauty Blender. Now, if you are someone who doesn't want to spend $20 on the Beauty Blender, I do think that the L'Oreal Infallible Foundation Sponge is a really good alternative for you. Does it compare to the Real Techniques sponge? I don't know. I don't have the Real Techniques sponge. I've honestly never purchased it. I believe that sponge is $5.99, which would make it a little bit more affordable than your $7.99 L'Oreal foundation sponge. But if you are in the market for a drugstore sponge, I do think this is a good alternative. Keep in mind, if you are wanting to get all three of the sponges, the contour, the concealer, and the foundation sponge, that you are then paying more than the $20 Beauty Blender to have three sponges, that ultimately the Beauty Blender can do all of those things. But the choice is up to you. I can say that I would recommend this. Is it the one that I'm going to be reaching for? No, I'll reach for my Beauty Blender more than I would for this L'Oreal sponge, but I don't regret purchasing this. This has worked fine for me, and it's a really good drugstore option for people who are wanting to save a little bit of money. Those are my thoughts on the new L'Oreal Blend Artist Infallible Foundation Sponge. I hope you found this review helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. If there are more products that you are interested in seeing a review on, please list those down below, and I hope you'll subscribe on your way out. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.